Hey everybody, Jane Lindsay coming to you from Post, Texas. So hey, I just wanted to think about doing a new lecture because I don't know, I just didn't want to talk about my body of work called I See Post right now. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of other projects instead. One, I want to talk about one of my very first projects. And I don't even know why I've not shown this work very much because going through it, I really loved it. And it's probably some of Betsy's favorite work, actually. And it was never my favorite work until maybe the last 3 years or so. So I've been thinking about actually, I was going to um, submit it to something recently, but I just didn't have the time. So anyway, but I think I might do that pretty soon, and it's called The Last Resort. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm also going to hopefully spend a little bit of time on my food bank work, and then maybe a little bit of time on another work called Injustice for All. So, okay, let's go right here. The Last Resort. Maybe I moved it up there because I wanted to think about it more. It actually works a lot different. And let's just put this on a here. I would have thought it would have been different. Let me see. It still thinks it's on full screen, so sorry about all that. All right, so this body of work is called The Last Resort, 5 minutes later. And actually, this was the work I worked on when I was in graduate school at Arizona State. And I really just wanted to make pictures that I didn't have to drive everywhere. I think at first I was kind of lazy and I'm from a rural area. I wasn't lazy, but I just, driving all over just didn't, it's not my thing. So anyway, I just was interested anyway in the social and cultural part of the where I was living, which was at a 55 and over trailer park. And so probably all the people there, if they're still living, voted for Donald Trump. I mean, it was a pretty conservative, like trailer park with people that would mostly snowbirds that came down. And then if they got older, then they would just stay in their trailer. And so that's the kind of thing I got really interested in is the retirement of people. And at the time, I wasn't really old enough to live there, but my husband was. And so that's how we lived there. And I sort of was an outsider because A, we didn't buy our trailer, we rented it. And B, I was younger than everybody, so it was just kind of weird. And so I just started making work about it, and I started thinking about it as like the last resort where people were coming that didn't have a lot of money because it wasn't expensive to come there and buy a trailer there. Now, the lot rent was kind of expensive, but for your working class person, it was perfect. But the kind of irony of it all was by the time they actually could afford to come and get the trailer, then of course they were so old that they couldn't do all the fun things they planned on doing. So there was that irony. So it's kind of like that. And my husband was in that same kind of place as they were because at the time he had cancer and he was my age now then. So, it just was really a place where had just had a stem cell transplant. He was kind of in that groove. So it was a different experience for him, but we were just so close. And I mean, we just made this body of work together. So it's a few photographs and a video. And if it runs over, I won't show any more work because I'm really interested in talking about this one. So this is an image called In Between She and I. And this was my house and my neighbor's house. And my neighbor, I never saw her and she was very destitute. And she ended up dying while I lived there. I think I made some work. I don't know if the story's in the web, but I did make a story about it. So that's the swimming pool, and just I was just real interested in the way, like she was very concerned about the picture because she wasn't supposed to be smoking. She had cancer, but also you weren't supposed to be smoking in the swimming pool. So, I mean, there was this whole thing. I mean, she had it was just a whole interesting dynamic. She was almost like she lived with her parents. She herself was aging, and so it was interesting because it was sort of like the grandmother living with the great grandparents in a way. And this image, oh, I just really like this image. So this one thing that was really interesting about this is the wreck, or the big building, I guess, where people can do stuff and have parties and all that stuff. And this on the bulletin board outside, every time somebody would die, they would, if they were popular, they would put on their name there. Like, so you see Ricky Hornstein passed away on the 2/22/2/11. And so, and then of course, then you have the golf and ladies pool exercises, and it was just kind of this sort of thing, this culture of how things would go there. And I found that really interesting. And so, and as this said, this was sort of at the time that I was making the work, I didn't see it this way, but the work actually was me dealing with the fact that my husband was dying, and that I was also changing careers late in life, and I had all these unrealistic expectations, probably, but I've never really regretted doing it because I mean, so many amazing things have happened to me in the art world. But at the time, it was just like this pretty emotional kind of experience because there was Dan who, was in his last year of life that we didn't know, or 2 years, time we didn't know how long. And, there he was with me, and leaving our home in Texas and going to Arizona. He was so sweet all the time about it. And so I just ended up having this doc. He became an integral part of the project, and I would say the most intimate part of the project. And so that is, and actually one of the images from the project is on the intimacy um, section module, and it's not in here, but you can see it on there. So as the work expanded, I started thinking about it in terms of the last resort, what you do, and stories came to me from my past. And I actually got it. My mother gave me some things from my mother was like me, she saved everything. So she gave me a bunch of stuff out of her scrapbooks, and this was one of the things. And this was when my sister tried to commit suicide, but in those days, people didn't talk about that. So basically, she just sent her to Europe to go to school and live with my aunt. And so, but they disguised it as an exchange student, and that's the article. And for the story, I wrote some short stories. This one says, when I was 10 years old, my sister tried to commit suicide. My mother sent her to Europe to live with my aunt. Before she left, my mother called the newspaper and they did a story about my sister becoming an exchange student. There was a picture and everything. I wasn't in it because it was a big lie, so I went and rode my pony instead. So those are it's kind of how it evolved. I started thinking about these internal past experiences that were really sort of a last resort. I would go, there was estate sales all the time there where I lived because people died all the time. And so, I mean, it was sort of, and they called, I can't remember what they called the ambulance. They had a name for it. The something wagon. I can't remember what it was, but because it came so often to take people to the hospital or to pick them up after they died. This is the story, the one I was saying about the neighbor, the story of she. So I never met her. I mean, literally, and this was Elvis in her window. So I can just quickly read it. It says, this I put into a accordion book. It says, The lady next door died tonight. I don't know her name. We were neighbors for 3 years. We never talked. Our houses were 12 feet apart. When I came home, the crime scene van and the police were there. When I went in outside, two of them were laughing at the Elvis figure in the window. Later, the police were talking to the neighbors, and they were all laughing and talking as though it were having a small party. In the summer, she sleeps in the clubhouse because she doesn't run her air conditioner. She works at the Circle K on the corner. She does her laundry at the laundromat. She drives an old green car, and there are children's bicycles on the side of her house, but I have never seen any children there. I am sad that she died so alone, and she seemed to be gone for a while before someone found her. I was wondering if she would be on the bulletin board, and I think she wouldn't because she wasn't popular. She wasn't Mary Lou, and she wasn't Ricky Hornstein. She was she. She didn't have a name, and she wasn't beloved. The story of she. That one's longer. I'm not going to read it because I want to show you a video, but it is a good one. Go on my website if you want to see it. It's called Molly and the Skeleton Woman. Another short story, The Black Ghost. This one's really short. I can read it really quick. It says, called The Cactus. I've never seen a cactus like this one before I moved into my trailer park. Later, I learned that it was a rare genetic. I can't read that, sorry. I felt proud, like it was special in some way because it was there. And then I went home for the summer. And then when I came back from the summer, it was gone. And so it was like, oh, and then I said I wanted to move. Sorry, my vision not as good as it used to be. So there it is, and it was gone, which really was sad. And this is the last one before the videos that I have, and that was of Dan right before he died. And that's in our house in Texas. So that was a couple of days before he died. That's his casket. He wanted to do he wanted to be buried in a basket casket and not be embalmed or anything like that. And he's buried on our land. And he was a first generation Scottish American. So that's his little hat thing that he had. It was a pretty amazing. So we planned this picture way before he ever died. And this was the very last one we made together. This one, and he died, I think maybe 4 days later. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Dan's Big Find and Linda's Sustainability. And then we'll see, it may be time to close it up. You're kidding. Oh my gosh. Wait, maybe it's gonna play. It is. Cool.
My name's Linda, and I'm 62 years old. And I moved out to Arizona from California about 3.5 years ago when the economy tanked. I had a very hard time staying steadily employed, and unemployment finally ran out last summer. So I went to work for Walmart. And I worked for Walmart for 6 months, and my take home pay was about $900 for 6 months. Now, rent was about $650 of that. So everything else had to come out of the remainder. And I became extremely resourceful on how to supply my needs and how to supply my wants. Have three dumpsters and three recycle dumpsters. We have a recycle dumpster for cardboard, one for paper, and one for plastic and black. Come along and eyeball whatever's in here. And this is where Jane and I had a talk a couple of weeks ago, because she was very uncomfortable about looking in the dumpster or getting anything out of the dumpster, dumpster diving and all that. It's not what people think, and it's not being worried about what people think. It's that we don't want to deal with our own uncomfortable feelings when we think about what people might be thinking. So it's our own feelings that we have to deal with. It has nothing to do with anybody else. And it doesn't bother me anymore. And if I have a slight twinge, I just think about all the good stuff that I've gotten, and it goes away. So the twinkle lights are free. The pot for my hose is free. The hose is free. Most of the baskets out here are free. The shelf, fan, most of the furnishings on my patio, a good deal of furnishings are free. One of my best finds was this mission style sofa, and it was in the dump off place. Also, the television cabinet and the television. Both of the carpets in the living room, my desk, my file cabinet, the bookcase, in the kitchen, the microwave, the shelf, the kitchen shelf, the round folding table, which I also use for camping. In my sewing and craft room here, all of the storage, all the bookcases are free. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bookcases were free from the dump off. The folding table over here, the storage, the 4-drawer storage unit for my paints, the unit that I keep my canvases in, all of the shoe boxes that I store crafts and art supplies in. So it took me a year and a half to be able to get my little camping trailer together. I bought a kit at Harbor Freight when it was half off on a New Year's Day sale, put the kit together, and didn't have any money for almost a year. But then I finally got the trailer itself registered, and then I've been waiting for free wood to build the box for the trailer, and it finally showed up 2 weeks ago. So now the box to the trailer is all built, and all that wood was free, and the Kills paint, the primer. I had a gallon can of that from the drop-off place that was free, and the tarp was free. And so now the trailer is ready to go. So I found all of these metal sawhorses over at the drop-off place. They've really been very handy, and of course all the wood. So any projects that I have, I save wood. When I see it over there, I pick it up and save it. This Stanley tool thing. Now remember, I'm female, so I don't always know what tools are. This was over there, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet. Now this was free also, but my brother gave it to me. So this is a much smaller pile than it was to begin with, because I've actually painted most of the inside of my unit here, but this is a good idea of the kind of paint that gets dropped over there. And I've pretty much everything that I've needed in terms of paint, painting supplies, brushes shows up over there. And so I haven't had to buy any of that stuff. Okay, so this is my workshop, and everything in the workshop has been free. I have found all of it. So we have over here all of my little storage drawers and all of the hardware, all of that stuff. That's all been free. Drill bit, sharpener kit, router, edge guide, and contour finger. Whatever that is. Some of the stuff I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I'll figure it out eventually. All of my tools, which I've got separated into plastic shoe boxes that were free. All of these tools were free. All of them were at the dump off place, and all of these tools, everything in here was free. And over on this side now, I did buy my drill and my circular saw, but for instance, all of these tools were free. And, you know, I pick up lots of houseware things when I see them over there. I just hold on to them until I need them. So what I do is normally, since I have to drive past the drop-off zone to work and I have to drive past it to come back in, I usually check it every day, sometimes twice a day, because you just never know what's going to be there. And I have also composted and built my own garden beds. And so most of my vegetables that I eat are free. I don't go and buy produce very often. I also juiced 16.5 gallons of grapefruit juice in. The containers that I used for the grapefruit juice in my freezer are half-gallon milk cartons, which of course we have the recycle over at the drop-off place, and that's where I get all my plastic for storage. And I got the milk cartons for the grapefruit juice there. Management has really tried to stop the free store from being in existence, and this is like the latest sign here, says no furniture or appliance, no household garbage allowed in dumpster. There have been numerous things that have been dumped off at the free store that I've actually sold on Craigslist when I needed extra cash. I would think of myself as being a hunter-gatherer. I hunt for sources of money, and I gather all the things that I need to have a comfortable lifestyle.
Did you make your dress?
Yeah.
Was it free material?
No.
Darn.
For the Christmas holidays. The weather was pretty good, not too cold. Had been a nice sunny day. Finally, I wanted to get a chance to get out to the ranch and shoot my black powder pistol. I took a model 1860 with me. It's a 44 caliber. When I got there, it was getting close to dark, so I didn't take time to set up any targets. I thought I'd just walk out it into the pasture land there and shoot it. Dead cactus. Anyhow, I was firing some rounds. I was headed back to the car to reload. And I was walking through a little gully. And right in the middle was a flat area of just sand. Nothing else, no rocks around it, just flat sand. Right in the middle of it was this beautiful arrowhead. It was a beauty. And I was just stunned. Started saying, oh my God, getting louder. Picked it up and kept walking around in circles with this thing. Oh my God. Jesus, started thinking about how I could come upon this thing out here in the middle of nowhere. It's probably been there over 100 years. How did it get there? Was it shot into an animal that happened to get that far and die, or was it a missed shot, or was it just a lost arrow, or what? And then I started wondering, why did I happen to find this? Why my good fortune? Maybe it was because the way I was trying to treat people now, or maybe it was when I was talking to Jane about her relationship with her mother, telling her how she should go ahead and be nice to her, even if it was a one-way deal. Maybe that was my reward for giving her a hint what to do. Anyhow, it sure was a great kudo. And I could hardly do any more shooting the rest of the day because I was so excited about that and couldn't wait to get back home and show it to Jane.
Okay, so that was my sweetie pie. Makes me sad when I think about it. I'm so glad I can hear his voice though, because he died in 2013.
Hey, my name is Megan Jackson.
Oops, I'm gonna stop.
And
So I'm not gonna show these others, but there's two more. If you ever want to go on my website, can look. That one's hilarious. But this goes on for 20 minutes. So I did 4 videos on this body of work. I'm not gonna go on. I don't think I'm gonna go on to another body because it's gonna take some time. But I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed looking at it again. I'm really glad this is the one I talked about. I'm sorry about this business up there, but such is life. All right, you guys. Well, I appreciate you and see you in crit.